Okay.
Okay.
Well, I didn't want to like video your ugly mugs. Okay, guys. So, welcome to Monday.
On the wall.
Toolbox Talk. Thank you for being on time. Recap. A couple weeks ago, we were on A, which is assuming things, how dangerous it is. A makes an ass out of me and you. B, budgeting and bullshit. Budgets for company and for personal is very important. Make sure that you have worked on or currently are filling in a $0 budget. We put the spreadsheet on the group chat back when we did it. You can find other kinds online. Budget is a very important thing for personal life and for business. Make sure you're aware of it. Bullshit is just as important or just as dangerous to not to be aware of possible issues. It hurts company, it hurts you personally. It might like save your pride a little bit, but the end result is bad. Okay. Last week we talked about communication and the need for communication in personal life as well as in business. That's something that we try really hard at Reliable to be better than average at. So one of my main complaints I hear from most customers is the contractor never picks up his phone, the contractor doesn't call me back, he doesn't communicate for weeks at a time. We try to always be available. That's why I require everybody to have their cell phone on at all times for safety purposes, let alone for being able to communicate if needed. So if you don't have your cell phone on you, if you are bad about getting a text and not responding or getting a phone call and not responding, it's something you need to work on if you're going to stay here at Reliable. Okay? So for today, we're on the letter D. And does anybody have any recommendations for D? Because I haven't thought this far yet.
Yeah.
Don't be a dumbass.
Don't be a dick either.
Don't be a dick.
Determination.
Determination. Any other ones? He's kind of a harder one. Good. Nobody got it. Okay, it's early in the morning. Okay, so I'm going to put this one on here for starters. Discretion. Okay. It's not the only one, but it's the one that came to my mind. Discretion is what? If you break it down, I was homeschooled, so you break something down. If you don't know what it means, then like shorten it and see what it is. So what's half of discretion? Discreet, discreet, whatever. So what is somebody who is discreet?
They want to tell you something?
So if somebody tells you something, you hold it. Like you're not gossiping about it. You're careful. You're not gonna like spread the garbage. Okay.
You're not being a dick.
You're not being a dick. Yeah. So discretion comes in two ways. Personal. People who are discreet. I'm just gonna use this word. They don't air grievances. They don't spread rumors. And they are careful with words. Okay? The reason why these things are important is because if you aren't discreet, if you're known for being the guy who tells everybody else's business, then people are going to just eventually stop telling you stuff. Okay, so they're going to withhold information that might be good to know, like the fact that certain people have extra baby mamas that not everybody else knows about. But the things that I end up seeing in a professional mindset is what ends up happening if we don't have discretion is the customer. So say we're having a rough day, I got the wrong material. Customer walks up, we're just chatting with them, man, boss got the wrong material, it's probably we're gonna make this work, but now we got to do this, this, and this, which are all actual things. They're not false things. You're not telling a lie. Then the customer instantly gets stressed, starts thinking that as a company we're trying to screw them or we don't know what we're doing, and I end up dealing with a customer who I've lost trust with because they had more information than they needed. Okay, obviously we still want to communicate with our customers. We just talked about last week the importance of communication, but discretion comes in when we're communicating the right information. Okay, so like as a professional, what we're seeking to communicate is we're seeking to build trust, build confidence, which if you're airing grievances, it's kind of the lack of trust. Like you're airing problems. You're confident,
Or just in one word, credibility.
yeah. As a company, credibility. It's in there somewhere. As a company, like our goal is building the brand to where people, like it even says on our website, like we're trying to create an experience that people want to talk about in a good way. Okay, so be careful with customers. Be careful in your private life or with coworkers, to where I have an issue with Joe, and instead of going to Joe, I talk to everybody else except Joe about it. And basically, everybody then has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder against Joe, instead of me dealing with the actual issue. And Joe ends up coming to me about it, like, why? Like, everybody else is talking about this, so you have something to tell me? When you don't tell the actual person, like being discreet is going to be different than hiding something. Okay, it's not hiding something. Like you actually want to plan out how you're getting the information. Okay.
It's basically being smart about it.
Yeah, it's being discreet is just being smart about who you communicate with. So it's not telling people things. It's just being careful with how you tell something. I mean, another good way of describing discretion is I don't even know the right term for it, but it's just being thoughtful with your words when you're dealing with people. Knowing that words have consequences, knowing that actions have consequences. If you're drinking and you go to drive, you obviously know that that's dangerous. Ooh, there's a good one.
Drinking.
So yeah, there's all kinds of. Okay, I'm gonna put some more D's down real quick. Drinking, danger. I thought there was another one.
You're gonna drink on
Discussion, whatever it might be. The goal is to be thoughtful and plan out, not just to be random when we are going over the reasons why something's happening. It's not lying. It's not trying to be deceitful. Discretion in this particular toolbox talk is being careful with your words. Okay, with customers, with other employees, there's reasons why we have a chain of command. Okay, so like if you have an issue with one of the workers and you feel like he's slacking off, not doing his job, obviously you should talk to him and try to like, hey, we're on the same page here, whatever's going on, try to work it out amongst yourself. If it doesn't work, you go to whoever's leading the job. If that doesn't solve it, then it goes up the food chain up to me or whoever else is in charge of that guy. Okay, but what doesn't happen is we vent our whatever it is, disagreement. What is another one? We vent it to everybody else, and it becomes a company known issue. Okay. What I do not want as a company or as anything else is for the customer to know things before I do, or for everybody else to know things that I don't know. Now sometimes maybe that's the right thing. Maybe you guys know I'm going to be mad about something, and so you hold off on telling me until I've eaten some food. And I'm back to like steady.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I don't words like that. I mean, it's times, but like it's thoughtful spreading of information that's important. Okay. Let's go over this one real quick as well. So we're going D as discretion, and then we're going to go D as in disagreement, and they kind of line up with each other. But I'm going to tell you guys in general what happens when we disagree with the coworker. Okay, so we disagree with the coworker. First thing that we do is we spot flaws. Okay, so as soon as you disagree with somebody, then basically you put a magnifying glass to your eye and you see everything they're doing wrong. Okay, that's the normal. Everybody does it. You instantly mostly see what they're doing wrong. Okay, if that's the case, like somebody who hasn't shown up yet. But the next thing that typically you do is you find somebody else, find a partner, or what's the word? I don't know. You find somebody to back you up, basically. You have like a witness.
BIC.
Yeah. So basically, you don't like somebody. Let's just use Paul as an example.
Nobody likes Paul.
I've told Paul multiple times that we wear jeans on the job site. I haven't actually told him this, but instead of going to Paul, if I disagree with him, I'm going to be like, remember, like Paul was on that job site and he wore shorts,
And Paul disagrees with you and says, "Wait, but I saw the boss already."
Yeah,
and
so
that one, by the way. I think he learned his lesson on that route. He
Yeah.
showed up in shorts, and I was like, "Hey, squat down or kneel down."
You gotta kneel down.
did you actually stick some stuff in there? Boy?
I was like, kneel down on this roof right here and flash this.
With disagreements, what we do typically is you spot the flaw, you find some backup for the flaw, and then you basically start slinging mud. I mean, you go to the person talking about flaws, okay, or the problem /problem, okay. That's the way 98% of everybody who works, lives, deals with problems, okay? And you don't have any interest in hearing their side of it. You have a problem with them, so you just want to make sure that they know that you have a problem. It's not about a solution, you're just telling them your problem, okay? We're not talking about women, but the same thing applies in relationships at times where, she might disagree with something, and the main point is that it's not about like, well, I didn't actually do that. Like I didn't, drink when I got home, or I didn't sleep with this person, or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. She doesn't care about those things. She just wants you to know that she's mad, or he's mad. I mean, people in general have this stuff happen. So, what we're seeking to do as professionals, this is just in a workplace setting. I'm a Christian, so typically I try to view things through a certain lens. But even if you're not, as professionals, I'm just going to say pros, then if we have a disagreement, we're going to do it slightly different, okay? We are going to try to view both sides, okay? And you almost have to force yourself to do that at first, okay? Because your typical response is always going to be your emotions, your views, your opinions, okay? After you've viewed both sides, you're going to go to the person and you're going to tell them their side. Not your side. Okay? This is very important if you plan to win the argument, okay? And sometimes you're not going to win. Sometimes you just are going to disagree. But the only way to get past the normal mudslinging process is he's like, hey, look, I know that, okay, let's say we had Ben, he is just leaving the job really messy, okay? And everybody's kind of aware of it, it's becoming an issue, everything's a mess, okay? So what you're gonna do is instead of being like, hey, the job's messy, you're gonna be like, hey, I know that you're getting a whole bunch done. I know that you're working hard. I know that you've got a lot going on. So basically you tell him what he's gonna tell you before he tells you, you know, when it comes to the argument, okay? So you can tell them, like, I see what you're doing. And then you tell them what you see. Then you tell your side.
Oh, the compliment sandwich.
It's a compliment sandwich.
Followed by negative criticism.
And then you gotta finish it with a compliment. This is a common tactic when negotiating. It's a common tactic when dealing with life. Just because we're construction guys, not lawyers, same thing applies. People are people, okay? And so if you're planning on disagreeing with somebody, which you will, I don't plan on disagreeing with anybody. I do it all the time, you know. You might not know it because I seem like a cuddly, fuzzy, whatever, but I do disagree, okay? If you're planning on disagreeing, you need to go about it in a professional way. Things that I don't want to see in a company, I don't ever want to see like mudslinging, which can be just like, basically, oh, that guy is common phrases in our industry, he's just happy to not be in jail, meth head, pot head, whatever else. So there's a whole bunch that like we get labeled pretty much all the time just because of our industry. Okay, but there's zero reason, there's zero help. Labeling somebody doesn't do anybody any good, and it also won't help you win any kind of argument or get your point across if you're disagreeing. Okay. Another thing that we're not going to do is gossip or get backup. Okay? So what I don't want as a company for any of us to do is if you have a disagreement, you're then going to go around the person who you have a disagreement with, go to 3 other people, talk to them about it, and then gang up and then go to the person. When you back somebody in the corner, you're never going to get like very logical responses. And most of the time, those responses will never be professional or helpful. But you're definitely not going to like have a common courtesy when you're talking to them, okay? So you always go straight to the source. Go straight to the source. And if they decide not to listen, then you get it back up and you talk to them. Hopefully it gets under the guidance of a foreman or something like that. Go straight to source. Okay, and then finally, if we're disagreeing, one thing we do not do is ever let a customer know. We do not let clients know that we have a disagreement. This has happened in the past, we're getting better about it. But where a customer gets told, well, Daniel wants to do it this way, but we decided on this way. That's an instant kind of like, okay, wait, there's not on the same pageness of, you know, the company. No, we do not talk about those things in front of customers. It's very dangerous. It creates, there's always going to be like me and Josh, good old boy, argue from time to time, you know, but it's almost always a little bit of a joke.
Well, in general, in the customer service industry, if you read any book, they encourage you to actually say we or that instead of me. Or
it's almost always, we are going to do this.
It presents
the company, the office, management, like you're using terms that don't just isolate you as an individual, okay? There's times where you take responsibility for something. But in general, our rule is we, us, team, other words that, so disagreement, what that is there's an agreement, and now there's no longer an agreement, you know. So disagreement is like splitting things up. Agreement is coming together, you know. What we seek to do when we're arguing, when we are talking to customers, whatever it might be, is we are trying to come together to figure the problem out. The
You can
disagreement,
have a
whatever
cup
it
of
might
coffee without getting up.
be. Yeah.
Wages.
Questions, comments? So 2 words are discernment and disagreement. The reason that I will give you guys time to question and comment. The reason that they are very important, the reason that discernment's important is because, or did I say discretion?
Discretion.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
discretion.
reason I said discretion is important is because there's a lot less of it than ever. People just don't tend to think about what their words might mean to a customer, to a coworker. And then disagreement is something that people are so used to doing online without consequences now. Oh, okay, I don't know how to spell. That it's very hard in a workplace to be able to have a disagreement without it causing like ripple effects of affecting other people besides just the person you're mad at, you know. And we all have legitimate reasons to be mad. I don't think that we're ever going to have like a perfect company where we don't disagree on stuff. But the way we go about it can solve problems quicker, and it can, you know, actually be beneficial at times versus the other end of it to where basically you're just trying to make somebody else look bad, you know. So, thoughts, questions? It's hot in here.
I think, for me, at least, how I see it is sometimes I'm totally fine with the agree to disagree thing if it's not important. Like, if you just have a disagreement over something petty, it's not going to hurt you or the other party or anyone else, and you don't really want to get into, oh, we disagree about something, now we need to, like, hash this out. Sometimes it's just be like, you have your opinion, I have mine, and we're just chill about it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So unless it's an important matter, that, you know, something that
Sure.
actually matters, not
Yeah.
like talking about a hairstyle or the clothes or shoes they wear,
Hairstyle.
the car they drive,
Or
or
shorts
something like
opinions.
that.
Yeah. Some of those things are petty, and I mean, it's okay to have your personal opinion. But if it doesn't affect the job site, if it doesn't affect the crew or the morale, sometimes it's not worth even trying to hash it out. And just, you're stupid or weird.
Just a comment on, you brought up talking to customers, you also talked about we or us or this or that. Just as a given role, no one pretty much, like, with the exclusion of like either the overall project manager or Daniel, don't talk to customers. Just as a,
That's safest, frankly.
just don't. Don't say we, don't say anything. Say, I'm sorry, if you need
For first name.
communicate something, a concern, I don't know if I can relay what you're wanting to Ben or Daniel or Joe or Josh properly, so it'd be best if you could try to relay that to them. Sorry, and because it's not you're not trying to come across as, you want to come across as helpful, if we're not immediately available, but just again, the overall premise is don't talk to them.
Referring sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, and that comes down, like, we had this issue with a former employee recently where the customer told him a whole bunch of stuff, but didn't get relayed to me, and so if he had just deferred, like, hey, you need to talk to Daniel, maybe that stuff wouldn't happen, now maybe it would have, you never know. But discretion is seeing danger and avoiding it before it gets to that point, okay? So, okay, that's it for the D's. Obviously, being a dick, everybody should know that that's stupid, and there's other ways of getting what you need done without being that, unless you're just grumpy. Everybody's got a right to be grumpy every once in a while. But if you're grumpy for multiple days in a row, then you're a dick, for sure. And fix it, but
If you're
that's
grumpy
it.
with something at home, you keep that shit at home.
This is true. And we're not pointing to your teeth. Cody's a redneck.